Hey guys, welcome back to Attack on TCG. Fluff here. I've got another deck profile for you. This again was one that was requested by Rising Phoenix Odyssey. You made some awesome control aspect suggestions for us, and then also requested the promo Majin Vegeta from Draftbox 2. What a challenge. I did not know what to do for this leader. I've actually really not liked this leader since getting it in Draftbox 2. But I had an idea for a Hercule deck that used this engine that I ended up throwing into this. And I thought, well, this engine kind of makes up for the leader's inability to draw cards. So I thought I would try the engine out with this deck with this leader's ability, and I ended up really liking it. I love this engine. I'm still not a big fan of this leader, but I've really enjoyed kind of experimenting with this leader and going from there. So I guess we'll get right into the video. So we've got the leader. The leader, once per turn, activate main. Place one card from your hand in the drop area, then your leader gains 5,000 power and crit. He doesn't get a draw when he attacks, but it's 15,000 crit. The whole idea of this deck is to crit your opponent as much as possible and deny them resources as much as possible, while also defending yourself and drawing. When you're at 4 or less, you draw 2 cards and awaken. So this is like the older leader cards that we saw in the game that instead of retapping energy and extending plays, filled your hand with resources. On the back side, he does exactly the same thing as he does on the front side. I just gotta say, I love the art on this card. I love like the foil M behind him. Like, it's just an amazing art. But once per main, or activate main once per turn, place one card from your hand, he gains 5,000 in crit. Then when he attacks, we get to draw. So nothing special about him. He doesn't have any game-changing effects. It's just a good, aggressive leader when you have plenty of resources in your hand to get rid of. So that's the leader from Draftbox 2. This is actually the first time that I had played him, and I gotta say, I'm a little impressed by it. It's not nearly as bad as I thought it was, but it still was definitely a challenge to put together. So moving on, as you could probably tell from the deck profile, we've got the Ki Barrage, Son Goten. Let me scoot those over. So we do play 4 of those. They're 10,000 power, 1 drops. At the end of your turn, this card returns to your hand. So this is really similar to the pan that we saw in Tournament of Power, I believe it was, that adds a card from your life to your hand and then returns, but he doesn't add a card from your life to your hand. We do play this because we are running the Gotenks engine. So he's definitely needed in 4 of, but so you can use him on turn 1 for a little bit of early game aggression, get him back to your hand for a future fusion play. His partner in crime is the Ki Barrage Trunks. I didn't realize how much I liked this card. This reminds me of the Tapion that was really good during the time that SS3 kind of fell out of the game. When you play this card, add 1 card from your life to your hand, then choose one of your opponent's battle cards and return it to its hand. So this card is awesome for getting rid of problem cards on the field, awakening sooner if you have to discard a blue Goten. But I do love this card. I didn't realize he did what he did until I started playing this deck. So I do really like this card. It just reminds me of a card long since lost its prime. And then kind of the goal for those two is quick thinking Gotenks. I love this card. This card is a draw machine. So he's got critical, Union Fusion 2. You do have to have a Son Goten and a Trunks with the same energy cost in your hand. You pitch those to drop area. Then auto, when you play him using Union Fusion, you draw 2 cards. But then also when he attacks, you draw 1. So this is our main attacker. This is the main guy. This is the guy that we always want to be able to play with Union. You can hard cast him for 3 if you need to, but you get so much more effect by playing him with Union. And that's what this deck really goes for, is being able to play these as you need them. Plus he's 15,000. That's not bad. It's going to make your opponent waste a card if they don't negate the attack. And then kind of his partner in crime, one of the cards that sets up those plays, is the Raging Energy Blast Gotenks. This guy's pretty awesome himself. So you crit, Activate main, place this card in your drop area, choose one Son Goten and one Trunks Youth from your deck, add them to your hand, then choose 2 of your energy and switch them to active mode, then shuffle your deck. So the goal would be play this card for 4 energy, swing with him, it's crit. They're either going to negate it, combo through it, or take a crit. And then you send him to the drop area, search your deck for a Son Goten and a Trunks Youth, retap 2 blue energies, and then play a quick thinking Gotenks. It's a lot. It's really aggressive. It draws a lot. And this guy just complements that perfectly, being able to get into quick thinking Gotenks. Now that's all the blue for battle cards that we run, so we're going to kind of run into the red engine that we play. The 1-drop red that we have is Dependable Mom Bulma. This is to supplement the leader's inability to draw. So tapping her, you choose one of your battle cards, or one of your cards. It could be her or another battle card. It gains 5,000, then you draw a card. Then your opponent has to make the tough choice. Do they go after their leader, after your leader, or do they go after this Bulma? And I've actually defended this Bulma before, just so I would have extra draws the next turn. But it makes your opponent kind of think, do I want to try to kill them, get rid of this Bulma to deny them resource retrieval? So we do run 4 of those. Then kind of sticking with the theme of the Gotenks, we do play 3 of Mighty Mask the Mysterious Warrior. This is a card that we can play for 2 energy, 1 red. We can attack with it. There's no crit, so that's a bummer, but I think crit would have been too much on this guy had it been that other way. But once he attacks, you can place him in the drop area in your main phase. You choose 1 Son Goten and Trunks from your deck with 15,000 or less power and add them to your hand. So this sets up future Gotenks plays if we need to get to them. I don't find myself wanting to play this card as often as maybe I could, so I chose not to run it at 4. Oftentimes I will use this card to get off the leader's effect. It's just not a card that I oftentimes find myself wanting to play. Then, for super combos, we run 2 of the Mighty Mask powers combined. It's one of the older style super combos, so when you're at 4 or less life, you can combo with this. Search your deck for a red Son Goten or a red Trunks. Add them to your hand, then your leader gets 10,000. So as opposed to having the draw, we get to search our deck for things that will set up future Gotenks plays. So I only played 2 because we don't run as many red Goten and Trunks, but I did want this to increase the consistency of our quick thinking Gotenks plays. Then the other 2, we do play the sideline assist Bulmas. I wanted this just so we'd have the draws if we really needed to have them. And this is one of the newer ones where you automatically get the 10,000 power. Then if you're at 4 or less life, you get to draw 1 card. I wish I could play 4 of this, but I really like the consistency that the Mighty Mask gives from super combos, so I split the difference and did 2-2 here. Can't get those. Then I kind of alluded to these earlier. We do play 3 of the Tiny Rival Trunks and 3 of the Tiny Rival Son Goten. So these are one and the same. They do nearly the same effect. The Tiny Rival Trunks has critical. The Tiny Rival Son Goten has barrier. But when they're on the field, they each gain 5,000 in triple strike. So these are amazing if we have to hard cast them. The Trunks fits into the whole idea of critical. Plus, it's a double strike crit. The Son Goten is a double strike itself, which isn't terrible, but most of the time we're going to use these for Gotenks plays. But the ability to play them and be aggressive with them is also an option if for some reason our Gotenks are lifed or they've been milled into our drop area. These are viable to play on their own. Then moving into more support type things, I do run 3 of the Furthering Destruction Champa. I almost want to run 4 in this because of all the crit going on in the deck, but I needed to find room for a couple other things, and this just was the one thing that I felt could go to 3. Most of the times we're going to use this with the leader's effect or a Gotenks to go for game when your opponent has kind of tapped out. And most of the time when we do win the game, it's because of Champa. So in that respect, I almost want to find room for 4, but 3, I see them when I need them and they don't clog my hand when I don't have the energy to play these. So we do play 3. Then moving on to a little bit more of the draw, Unbreakable Super Saiyan Son Goku is kind of our secondary pseudo combo. You combo with it for 1 energy, gain 10,000, then draw a card. Now, I feel like you could easily run this at 3 and run Champa at 4, but I wanted the extra draw in this deck because the leader does not draw. So I thought that this was really important to run at 4 just for that extra little bit of resource grab when we need it. So again, secondary super combo, no reason not to run 4. And then the last of our battle cards, I was kind of torn between this and another card, and I'll explain that in just a minute and kind of give you a rationale of where I was at when building this deck. So 2 Scientist Foos, Overwhelm 7 costs 1 energy, double strike. When you play this card using Overwhelm, draw 2 cards. So this is not a Dragon Ball deck. You don't have to leave things in your drop area. You can overwhelm without worrying about it. It's an excellent pressure builder for your opponent. There was just no reason to not run this card. I wanted to run the... Gosh, I'm losing the name of it. But it's the 5-drop Kefla that came out of Colossal Warfare, I believe. The one that dual attack and draws 1 every time it attacks. I chose this because the Kefla is 5 energy, requires 2 or 3 red, and to be honest, we just don't have to charge a lot of red in this deck, unless we find ourselves swamped with red and needing to play the tiny rival Goten and Trunks. So I didn't want that to influence the rest of the way that the deck plays. Plus Scientist Fu, I've been able to nearly play 2 Foos turn after turn, so play it 1 turn, and then after comboing and putting pressure on my opponent, play another Fu in the very next turn, and come really close to doing it in the same turn, dropping 2 Foos. So that's nothing to scoff at with this deck. I absolutely love Fu in this. It complements it perfectly. The leader's inability to draw is perfectly complemented by Fu's ability, plus the double strike. You can use this along with the Raging Energy Blast Gotenks or Quick Thinking Gotenks, plus the leader, plus Champas to just put an immense amount of pressure on your opponent in the mid game. So we do run 2 of these. I would almost want to find room for 3, but 2 has been pretty good so far. Now moving into our extra cards, we do run 4 of the Unending Awakening. This could be After Image, but I wanted to make this deck with stuff like Storm in mind, where early game Storm players might run over you before you get the Gotenks engine going. And giving your leader 5,000 for the duration of the turn is really amazing against Storm. It kind of forces them to waste resources to be able to deal those 1 or 2 points of damage that they would need to do. And as you'll see, this isn't the only thing that we run that kind of counters that idea of early game Swarm. So I favor these over After Image technique just because it does a little bit better, I think. And then finally we do play 4 Senzu Bean. So again, this is mainly for the Storm matchup. It's good for energy manipulation, being able to get to spend energy, then being able to re-tap your energy to play another Gotenks, or playing a Champa, or then plus having the ability to defend yourself if you need to. So I think that brings our blue count to around 20. It's right around 20 or 24. I think it's 20. But this is a primarily blue deck. We only really charge blue, so that has caused me to charge Senzu Bean before. But done right, it is an extremely defensive card and just wonderful. Almost the entire reason that you would run or splash a blue engine. So I think that's going to do it for the Vile Strike Dark Prince Vegeta, the Draft Box 2 Vegeta. This deck, like I said, was initially, the concept for it I had was to run with the Hercule Leader, using the combo power to draw cards and then using Gotenks to put pressure on your opponent. But I do like the way that the deck flows with this leader. This leader really encourages that whole crit, deny your opponent resources through life. And oftentimes I find myself not attacking with this leader if I don't want to pitch a card to give crit despite everything else. So thank you so much for this deck suggestion. If you have more that you want to do, we will literally do anything. And even more than maybe we're shooting ourselves in the foot here, you know, you want to see a leader profile. If you want to see a leader plus an engine, like, or if you want to see a leader with a specific color engine, so we could do like set one Beerus with yellow, or Hirudegarn with swap. I don't know. Whatever you guys would want to see, we will literally do anything. So thank you guys so much. Make sure you hit that subscription, ring the bell for notifications. Make sure you like our page. We do multiple deck profiles a week. We do multiple duels per week. And we just really appreciate your feedback and everything that you guys do to help us become better in the game. So again, thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.